On July 13th, 1991, Maria Estefania Gutierrez Lázaro was a 17-year-old girl living in Vallecas, Madrid, Spain, with her parents Concepcion Lazaro and Maximo Gutierrez. I'm going to try that again. Maximo Gutierrez and her 5 younger siblings. Estefania liked to sing and dance and throw parties, and she had a boyfriend. 3 of her siblings, Ricardo, Maximiliano, who goes by Maxi, and Curabina, say that she was more like a mother than an older sister to them. She'd clean, cook for the family, get the kids ready for school, help them with their homework, and at night she was the one who tucked them in for bed. On Saturday, July 13th, 1991, Estefania was just a normal teenage girl. But by Sunday, her life was over. And in November 1992, her story was resurrected into a haunted image of itself that's still being told to this day. I'm Tasha, and this is Matt, and this story is Real Twisty. Welcome to Real Twisty, setting stories straight. This is episode 1. One, the first, the primo, and we are going all the way to Spain for this one with a story that I thought was going to be so straightforward. I thought it was going to be so good to introduce the show's premise in like a really easy to follow way. And then I started the research and I realized I might have kicked my own butt with this one. But I am in too deep now. So buckle up, buttercups. Here we go. Real Twisty number 1 is the 2017 Spanish film Veronica.
Ooh, I love that movie.
Me too. Matthew, I love it. I remember it released on Netflix in the US in 2018, and I added it to our October Halloween movie-thon, and it was just like chef's kiss. Like it was the perfect possession movie. And then like the cherry on top was that it was based on a true story, and that just increases that scare factor because there's that possibility that there's truth to it,
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's true,
Yeah.
but then or is it? That's what we're here to find out. So language is really malleable, right? Like what you say can be misconstrued so easily by someone else. How two people understand a single event, like even when you're standing right next to each other, can be completely different. If you ask me a question and we're in a conversation and I say, okay, like you're going to hear that. And what are you going to hear?
You're going to hear what your voice in your head hears.
Right. But like if you text me and you ask me a question and I text okay, suddenly there's like this unspoken subtext and you're reading between lines that
Yeah,
aren't
you think
there.
someone's angry when they're just asking, what do you want to eat?
Yes. But it's like language is just so flexible.
Yeah.
And so in school, like at university, I really loved getting to discuss how a narrator's reliability could influence how we understood the story and what we understood of the story to be true. And before we really got into that discussion, I never thought about like, you just like would read a book and you'd be like, okay, yeah, the person's telling the story, like this is their story, it's their story. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right story or that's,
Mm-hmm.
it's that whole like there's 3 sides to every story. There's your side, my side, and the truth
Yeah.
kind of thing. And like when I got my job as a copywriter, I learned how slippery like even unregulated food claims could be. So I was working on a project and there were claims that had like cage free or free range or even things like heart healthy all natural,
Organic.
yeah, light. Um, those claims like are not regulated by the FDA, so the food manufacturers kind of get to decide what those terms mean. And that like blew my mind the
Yeah.
first time I learned that. And then, as I've like become a true crime junkie, thank you, COVID, I I found it really fascinating. Like I would dive into one case and they'd be like, the whole case fell apart because there wasn't a witness to give a testimony. There was
Yeah.
no one there who said like, yeah, I saw it. This happened. And so they couldn't like get the guy. But then you'd go to a completely different case and they'd be like, yeah, uh we had a testimony, but memory's fallible. And so like we you can't trust a testimony.
There's no perfect evidence or no perfect witness.
Exactly. And so it's like, so do you need a testimony? Do you not need a testimony?
Yeah.
What is the right answer here? So on Real Twisty, we are investigating the real life events that, based on a true story, stories are based on. And hopefully we'll get an idea of what parts of the story changed along the way and why, diving into how the story gets told and what type of influence that has on how we collectively experience it. And we'll see how twisty the real story gets along the way, or if the original story was twisty enough that it didn't change much in delivery, because as we've been looking, we have found a few of
We
those.
have.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to look at some of those too. So, like I mentioned today, we're investigating the 2017 Spanish horror film Veronica, directed by Paco Plaza, who did the Wreck films. That's his like big. That's what people know him from. He also wrote the film with Fernando Navarro and story editor Coral Cruz. And we're starting with horror, but I want to let everyone know, like, if horror's not your jam, that's okay. We're going to be covering stories across all genres. So, um, you know, don't think that this is just a horror or true crime ride. Like, this is, if it's inspired by a real story, it's fair game.
Yeah.
So, grab a coffee, settle in, because Veronica is a ride. Like it yeah,
It's fun.
it's fun. It is fun. Okay, so I mentioned that I did some research and
Yeah,
you
you did
were
way more
like,
research than I did.
but also you were like, Tasha, you got to stop researching.
we we got to record this.
I can't help it. It's who I am. Uh, but okay, so my research kind of started because, or where it started, is that the phrase that I hear most often with cases kind of like this in the US is like paranormal research,
Hmm.
right? Um, but everything that I was finding whenever I was looking into the case of Estefania and I was looking into the movie Veronica was using the term parapsychology.
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
Yeah, and so I really I their culture was like so locked into parapsychology.
Hmm.
You did not see paranormal research like anywhere. So I wanted to get a handle on the difference and see how much that weighed into like how the story got told. So paranormal research, which is what we see represented in the US in much of like our ghost hunting TV shows, is basically like observational field investigations of hauntings and cryptids and the like. And it's often conducted by hobbyists. So I'm going to say, like, when we go hang out at um the Lizzie Borden house like we like to do. We're hobbyists. We're not doing anything scientific. I'm just going to throw that out there. There's nothing about what you and I do at the Lizzie Borden house that is scientific at all.
No.
Um, I would say we are paranormal researching. Okay. Would you agree with that?
I mean, like we're like beginners, like novice compared
Yes.
to some of the others that are out there
It
that
is
have
a
invested money into
hobby.
hobbies.
Yes. Um, but for parapsychology, it's like actually an academic study. So it evolved from 19th century spiritualism, and it investigates the intersection of science and the unexplainable phenomena, and it confronts questions about consciousness and causality and reality. And it's often laboratory and scientific method based study, which sounds like super professional, but I'm like, as you get into the story of Estefania, like, I'm not quite sure that's what was happening in the 1990s in Spain where we are for this episode, and you'll see why when we, like, dig into her story, but that's that's the difference. So, let's start there. So, there are 2 events largely regarded as, like, the start of modern parapsychology in Spain, and they both were in the 1970s, which was really just, like, the perfect time for them to happen. The first was the appearance of faces in the floor of this home in Belmez in 1971, and the family, like, found these big, huge faces in their concrete floor and tried scrubbing them out, couldn't get them out, supposedly, like, just could not get them to go away. They even went so far as to dig up the concrete. They dug up the concrete, laid new flooring, and the faces reappeared. Like, they just they
That's
just
crazy.
reappeared. So
Did it look like Jesus?
no, it did not look like Jesus, which really surprised me because I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be like, you know,
The Glee episode of
the grilled Jesus."
Grilled Jesus.
Yeah, it was it was not, um, marbleized Jesus or Mary in the floor. It was just these, like, weird
Hmm.
faces, and I think I remember reading that there was, like, later on, someone speculated that there was, like, a burial ground underneath the house, but there was something about the bodies that were buried there were buried without their heads, is the story, is the lore behind it, and so it was like
That's weird.
they were like, "We're gonna bring our heads. You took our heads, so we're gonna make you look at them all the time." I don't know. But so that created, like, a ton of study. So then the next big parapsych or paranormal, I'm just gonna call it a paranormal event, that because we're not at parapsychology yet. These are just the next thing that happened, was this dude named, I've gotta get his name right, Uri Geller. So the second event was like a whole damn person. Okay, we had faces as the first event. The second event is a whole damn person. Uri Geller, he appeared on Spanish television in 1975, and he bent metal, which he, like, low key claimed he did through powers he received from extraterrestrials 53,000 light years
Oh, the
away.
bending of the spoons and all that stuff.
Yes, yes.
Rub it
Uh,
real hard.
yeah, Uri Geller was a special kind of soul. So the Belmez faces sparked, like, years of investigations that actually ended up entering their university system, and it sparked like talks and courses. And then before long, parapsychology labs and societies were established at the universities in Spain to perform their own research.
Hmm.
And back in our hometown of Madrid, where our story takes place, the Spanish Society of Parapsychology was founded in 1979 to study paranormal phenomena scientifically. So I mentioned this was the perfect time for these two events to kind of spark curiosity in the paranormal. And I want to kind of rabbit hole into that for a second. I know we're like rabbit holing a lot. But I think this really helps us understand how Estefania's story gets told and twisted just like 13 years later.
Hmm.
And it explains a lot about how our protagonists live. So bear with me because we're about to get into some Spanish history, and I really tried to make sure I want to make sure that I'm telling it correctly. So if there's anything that I got wrong, um, please let us know in comments because I want to make sure that I'm delivering this correctly. And I was spending a lot of very late nights translating Spanish websites. So, uh, you know, it's it took a lot. Um, but in 1939, General Francisco Franco rose to power in Spain when, with the aid of Nazi Germany and fascist Italy, and just a reminder, just in case you don't know or maybe you forgot, and a little bit of a spoiler of what's about to come in Spain. These were not the good guys. Like they're not the good ones. But his nationalist forces won the Spanish Civil War. So Spain was then thrust into like this 36-year Franco dictatorship that lasted until he died in 1975. And during Francoist Spain, there was extensive censorship and regulations on everything. Like you couldn't speak out against the government or the Catholic Church. It was majorly like lockdown. There was a state television service, and only one government ran radio network was authorized to create broadcast news for the entire nation. Cultural diversity was repressed, incredibly repressed. And Franco even banned recognition and the legal use of previously recognized national languages. So they had more than just one language that was nationally recognized in Spain. And when he came to power, he said, nope, those languages, those cultures no longer exist in this country. Spanish is it. If you don't speak Spanish, you are not like a part of this country.
And Catholic, right?
Yep, Catholic, Spanish, that's it. So if other languages weren't allowed, other religions and beliefs weren't permitted.
Yeah.
So anything not fitting the Catholic Church was deemed occult and punishable. And we're talking like horribly, like graphically punishable. But Catholic parishes were given policing powers that were equal to those of like local governments. And then members of the Catholic Church were given police functions, which is just crazy to me. And then priests became investigators. They would look into people's past to look and see how did they align politically and you know, just to investigate. So people are also encouraged to out their neighbors. So if you were found out that at one point you sided with the left or the old leadership, or if someone overheard you speaking like an old language inside your home,
Mm.
or they saw you keep an old cultural practice and they outed you, you could lose your job, you could be imprisoned, you could be beaten in the street. Worse, like there was a punishment that I read about where they would, and they were doing this as late as in the 70s, where they would take a like a metal cuff and put it around your neck and take chains and pull them until it tightened around your neck and separated your spine to death. But before Franco took power, divorce, contraception, abortion, they were all legal, and he made them forbidden
Hmm.
because they didn't align with the Catholic Church. And so, along with that, if you had been married outside of the Catholic Church before Franco took power, your marriage was now null and void. So you had to like appeal to the Catholic Church to see if they would validate your marriage,
Mm.
no matter how long you had been married. Um, so they had control over the schools. They were like going through and firing thousands of teachers. Homosexuality was criminalized. LGBTQ individuals were arrested. They were sent to internment camps and asylums and tortured. And then women were stripped of their rights and they were confined to family care and motherhood. Their husbands and their fathers, they managed all of their affairs and their economic lives. Starting in the 1930s, they owned nothing. Until the 1970s, a woman could not even open a bank account without her father or husband co signing. So I don't know if you weren't married and your father was dead, I guess you didn't have a bank account. I don't know. So all Spanish women additionally were required by the state to serve for 6 months in a female branch of the state party where they would undergo motherhood training and political indoctrination. So that was just part of growing up. And to I just want to remind everybody this is like Estefania is alive while this is happening because Franco dies in 1975. Estefania is 17 in 1991. She is a child when he dies. So this is still something that is very alive and well when she is a kid. So one of the worst crimes I found during this time was the Women's Protection Board. But I don't want the name to fool anybody. It protected no one and they were not women. It was a public institution established in 1941 that took girls, children as young as 11, and it was in place until 1985. So it was finally dismantled in 1985, just 6 years before our story takes place. They forcibly incarcerated these young girls, putting them away in state organized church ran institutions for being, quote, fallen or in danger of falling. So getting married or getting pregnant out of marriage, out of wedlock. But even like, hey, I'm a young girl and I have a boyfriend.
You say this started in 1985?
No, it started in 1941 and it
Oh,
was not dismantled until 1985.
wow.
So 10 years after he died, it took 10 years for them to dismantle this. Um, but you could be put in one of these institutions for getting pregnant out of wedlock, for just having a boyfriend, for if you were sexually assaulted, if you were raped, molested, that was the fault of the girl.
Hmm.
And so the victim was imprisoned, not
The
the
attacker.
attacker,
Yeah.
not the man who did it. He went about his happy little way. The young girl was imprisoned in one of these facilities. Um, Orphans were put in these homes. Girls who were a little rebellious, like if you were found talking back or questioning the Catholic Church. But literally parents who were like, "You know what? This parent thing is just not really working out for us. We just don't wanna be parents to this kid anymore." They could take their daughters and drop them off and just say, "I this isn't working for me. I just don't wanna be this girl's mom and dad anymore." And they could drop them off because they don't wanna be parents. So, when these girls were dropped off, if they were pregnant or if they had already given birth to a baby, the babies were forcibly taken from the young girls. The records of where these infants went are lost. So, no one knows there's no record of whose babies went where. They're just gone.
Mm.
Um Every day, they were forcibly examined and tested for their virginity by doctors. They underwent psychiatric treatments and were physically punished by nuns. They performed forced labor and workshops. And when they weren't experiencing all of that, they were setting in mass or they were cleaning the convent. So some women have reported being heavily sedated, tied to beds, being given shock treatments when they tried to escape or fight back. In 1996, there was a instance where they had 1,564 boxes of documentation that held records of where the babies went, what happened to all of the girls, who went in and out of the system over those, 41 years. And they mysteriously lost 1,500 of those boxes in a flood, and they were never recovered before
Mm.
any of the documentation was ever studied or inventoried. So the women have never seen reparations. They've never received any sort of recognition or recovery for their imprisonment or their abuse. I did see an article where, as recently in March of this year, 53 women were formally pardoned and officially recognized as victims of the Francoist regime. But that took 41 years
Yeah.
after the end of the program, and it's only 53 women, more than 41,000 girls ages 11 to 24 were forcibly imprisoned in that system. So I really want to stress how recent this would have been for the girls and the women we're going to meet in our story today. I found a story of a 15-year-old girl in Maculata, Valderrama. The story from the Women's Protection Board at the time was that she fell from a third story window trying to escape, and that the fall killed her and she died. But it was quickly brought under speculation because she was only in her underwear. It was in the middle of the day, and the front doors to the building were wide open and completely unmanned. So she absolutely could have just walked out the front door with no
Yeah.
problem. There's no reason for her to have tried to escape out of a third story window at that time. And also, why would she have done that basically naked? Um, that story was in Madrid in September of 1983. So Estefania is 17 in 1991. That puts her about 9 years old in Madrid when this takes place.
Yeah. Wow.
So these centers are still playing a huge part in her childhood. The little girls are still hearing, if you behave badly, they'll take you to the nuns.
Yeah.
This is part of their childhood all the way up until Estefania is about 11 or 12 years old. That is a threat. If you behave badly, they'll take you to the nuns. So when the board is finally dismantled, she's about 12. Okay? So that is that's what is driving her role as a girl in Madrid, Spain at this time. It's a lot. It's really heavy. And it is hard to grapple with at the beginning of discussing a horror movie about demonic possession. Uh, so I really, like, struggled with how to tell this story because it's like this chicken and egg conundrum. Because Estefania lived for real. Her story came first, but then we saw the movie Veronica first before we knew about
Yeah.
Estefania, but, like, Estefania's story was technically her story was in the media first. But can you set a story straight before you tell the story wrong? And then, like, so then which one do you tell first? Do you tell Estefania's wrong story first? Or do you tell Veronica's wrong story first? It's just so twisty. I don't know. So I finally decided to do Veronica first. Like, give the history of Spain, give a little bit of introduction to Estefania.
Well,
So
that wasn't the full history of Spain.
no,
You
it's
didn't go
been
through all
around
the
a long
kings and
time.
all that stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot. But
Medieval time.
I wanted to, like, let people know what we're dealing with, you know?
No, when you told me some of this, I was like, there's a lot more to like how the country was ran
Yes.
that made probably so much influence into like maybe what got her curious about certain things because that
Yes.
wasn't available, which,
Exactly.
you know,
Yep. It influences so much in the story. It influences how the media deals with it. It influences the fascination with it. It really, even down to like how people thought of Estefania at the time, how they treated her family. There's so much playing into that. And I don't think that we could understand that without looking at the history and the culture. I think individuals who lived in Spain and saw this movie in Spain, which by the way, it um when it released to movie theaters in 2017, it was number 2 at the box office. It was huge
yeah,
in Spain because everybody knew the story. It was massive. But they have all of this cultural background, you know, they know, like, what they're working with. But in the US, we were just like, "Oh, it's a scary possession story on
yeah, correct.
Netflix," you know? And then we see it and we're like, "Okay," but, like, we lost so much of the
Yeah, the
context.
translation's different
Yeah,
because we don't
yeah,
know the culture translation.
yeah, and I think the culture of it is almost well, I do. I think the culture of it is scarier than the
It's like watching Japanese
possession.
horror or Korean horror. Like there's a lost
Mhm.
element that Americans don't understand
Yes.
that probably
Yes.
make it more scarier.
Yes. And it's like when you read old literature in times when there was a lot of censorship or even watching, like, movies from, the McCarthy era when there was so much censorship and it was like, things were never what they said they were, you know? Sex was never sex. It was always something else or,
Yeah,
you know, s things were always representative of things that you were not allowed to talk about,
yeah.
you know, and I think that that is very true of Veronica, um, but I think that while it's very true of Veronica, I think it's also kinda sad that Estefania's story gets, like, twisted up in this because I think that her family has been through a lot. So let's jump into Veronica so that we can get back to Estefania.
That's a big intro.
I
I felt
know!
like that was a big
It
intro.
was like half an
Should
hour.
we have him do the intro music now? No,
I
I'm just kidding.
maybe, I don't know. Okay,
He'd be
so
he'd be frustrated.
I he would be so he might throw it in just to be like, let's give
They just said
a
it again.
refresh. Let's give a refresh. Um
Intermission.
Go refresh your coffee. I do feel like I need to give a warning in the words of River's song. Look it up. Spoilers. Veronica opens up. on a police call. It's a
Yeah.
young girl, and we later find out the young girl's Veronica, and she is screaming to this operator for help.
Yeah.
And she's screaming, "He's inside!" And it's June 15th, 1991, 1:35 a.m. in Madrid. And we see several police cars, and they are flying through the rain to get to the apartment. And we see this like very hard worn detective. He finally steps out of the car, and he is going to be our narrator later at the end for the famed police report. And the officers that are already there, they direct him to the apartment building. And this is one of my favorite camera shots. And I can't help myself. I love film, and I love whenever directors do fun things like this. But Paco really like captures the moment of the chaos, because we go from having this like we're watching the detective, but then you see this woman who's like completely soaked through, and she runs across the screen, and the camera stops following our great warrior detective to follow this crazy rain-soaked woman. She runs over, and we see her start to run towards these children who are screaming, but then this other cop, like, cuts her off, and so the camera's like, "What's happening here?" And the camera starts to follow that cop, and then he walks the direction that the woman came, and the camera stops on the detective and is like, "Now what?" And then, we hear the part of the phone call where Veronica the woman tells the operator the address of the apartment. And we hear her say, "Numero ocho." And as she says that, the detective has started walking up, and the camera zooms in and focuses on building number 8.
Uh-huh.
And so, like, through all of that chaos, like, we finally, like, have something to focus on.
Yeah.
Like, the line goes dead, the phone is dead.
The dog has seen all the squirrels and is finally focused on the bowl
Y
of food.
yes. We we're going inside the
Yeah.
building,
Yeah.
like, this is it. Um, and so the detective goes in, and he walks into the apartment, and he's got 2 cops behind him. And this whole thing cracks me up because he's just got, like, a flashlight, our Mr. Detective does, and the cops have guns, and I'm like, "Y'all, you have the guns and you're hiding behind the detective with the flashlight.
Yeah.
If you shoot, you're gonna shoot the detective."
Well, and I mentioned this to you before is like, why is the detective there first? Because in America, detectives show up later,
Yes.
but in other countries, like that's sometimes different depending on
Yes.
what the phone call was.
Well, and I think too, I think it was more of, like,
But it also is like film dramatics, right?
film dramatics, and then you've also got, like, there were police officers already there.
Yeah.
But they all got there, like, very, very fast in response to this phone call. Um, but also I think, like, his lack of cop clothes, I think, was more of just, like, he's the one in charge. I think it had more to do with, like, his seniority than
Probably. Yeah.
anything else, you know? But so they go in, and you see in the inside the apartment for the first time, and like everything that was on the walls is on the floor, and the lights are busted out. It's dark inside. He has to have a flashlight because otherwise we're not seeing anything, but there's
Yeah.
a crucifix on the ground, and the apartment's just trashed, like broken glass. And then we see, like, drawings in crayon on the walls, but, like, something violent has happened here, and that's what you get,
Well, home invasion is probably what they thought, right? Because
right?
they're she
Because
said
'Cause they're cops, and he's inside.
he's in the house or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
So the screen goes black and we get like text on the screen and it says early morning, June 15th, 1991, Madrid police station 212 received an emergency call. And then it cuts back to our detective. And this is like setting up that based on a true story, right? It's giving us this information a
Yeah.
little bit at a time. It's feeding that fear of like, this is a real thing.
Yeah.
Something happened here. Our detective starts following this line of blood splatter down the hallway to this door at the end of the hall. And we cut to another screen of text, and it says the story is based on the police report filed by the detective in charge of the case. We hear the police radio then confirm that there are two children still in the apartment. Okay. And the very visibly afraid detective and two cops open the door. They go into this room, and the detective's flashlight, like, temporarily blinds the audience. And we hear this screaming, and the camera zooms in to the detective who's like freaking his shit out. Like, he is just,
Well, I mean, as much as what his facial features will do,
yeah, I
he
mean,
doesn't show much emotion.
uh,
but but he is freaked out.
he is freaked
But the
out.
cops with him are more freaked out.
Yes, they are. And then the camera like cuts to this like severe close up of Veronica mid scream.
Yeah.
But then no, it like zooms out and she's yawning.
Yeah.
It's a happy, sunshiny day, and Veronica's safe in her bed, and she's just waking up, and her alarm clock is going off. And I swear this is our first Bible reference because a rooster is crowing. And all I could think of was Peter denying Jesus before the next rooster crows. I
Okay.
swear.
I'm interested on how you're making this come
I
into this context.
I promise you I will make it happen. Okay. So because Veronica's going to do some very non-church ordained
Oh yeah.
things before we hear the rooster crow again. Like very non-church ordained things. And I just think it's really interesting that out of all of the alarm clocks that they could have put in this child's bedroom, the one that they choose is a rooster that crows to wake her up. And you could say that she denies Jesus with her actions. Just saying. Just saying. But the screen tells us it's 3 days earlier, which is also kind of
Biblical.
biblical.
Yeah,
Just
three.
saying.
I think every number is biblical. So
This Thursday is June 12th, 1991. So immediately, like, we have some weird discrepancies with the true story of Estefania, right? Because Estefania was July, this is June. In and then we have something weirder, which I looked up.
her yawn was weird. That's
Her
what I have to
yawn
say.
was weird. I
That freaked
know.
me out.
I know.
I was already
It's
scared by that
it's
yawn.
weird. It's weird. But I need to talk about the date for a second. So June 12th in 1991 was not a Thursday. The screen says Thursday, June 12th, 1991. It was not a Thursday. It was a Wednesday.
Really?
Yes. So
Was
first,
that on purpose?
I think it was. And I'm going to tell you why. Are you ready?
I'm gonna look this up while you say that.
Okay. So we know that they're playing off of Estefania's story. And so if we go 3 days before she died, it would have been July 11th, not June 12th, which is weird. So, in second, what we're about to learn is that the kids are about to experience a solar eclipse at school. So, you might think, oh, maybe they moved the date to like correspond with a solar eclipse that happened that year. But no, there were no solar eclipses seen in Madrid in the entire year of 1991. There was a total solar eclipse July 11th, 1991, but it was seen in the Americas, not in Europe, not in Spain. So then I thought, okay, well, maybe they were trying to like line up Friday the 13th because they do end up hitting like a Friday the 13th in the timing. But then I was like, well, then why not just move the year? Because
Yeah.
we aren't in the same month as Estefania's passing. So do we really need to keep the year? But then I found something and I was like, ooh, I don't think this is a coincidence. I think they did it on purpose. So June 15th, 1991, the date that we start the movie on, is the 14th anniversary of the first Democratic elections after the death of Franco. It is
That's
the
crazy.
anniversary of the first free elections in Spain after Franco's death. So, really, not just freedom from dictatorship, but also from the rule of the Catholic Church. I'll let that settle
Well, so
in
how
your
does that
soul a little
explain why
bit.
they used a Thursday instead of a Wednesday
Because maybe the goal of the calendar change was to get June 15th
on a Sunday?
on a Sunday to like really represent the freedom from the church.
That's interesting.
Or maybe I'm stretching. And so, Paco Plaza, if you're hearing this, let a girl know because I am dying to know. So, back to Veronica. Okay, she's definitely her brother's keeper. Another clear biblical reference here, and also a clear leftover of the Francoist women's place in the home. Veronica's the definition of a latchkey kid. Like
Yeah.
her mom
She worked
is
a lot and worked weekends.
MIA.
Yeah.
And it also really fits Estefania's like the description of Estefania, like taking care of her siblings. She gets up, she gets them ready, she feeds them, she cleans the house, she walks them to school, she does all the things. So we find out that her dad has died. She has a single parent mom who, Anna, is basically running the bar down the street from the house from open to whenever the football fans decide to close it down,
Yeah.
which basically means the only time the kids see her is when they stop by the bar on their way home from school. So 15-year-old Veronica is basically raising her three younger siblings. And that is Antonito, who is like quite possibly the cutest little boy I've
He's adorable.
ever seen in my whole life. Like, I just want to gobble him up.
He's on par with the little kid from House on Haunted Hill,
Yes.
the younger brother.
Yes.
Like they're
Yes.
both like
They're adorable.
glasses, adorable.
Yes. I yes, love these kids. Okay, and then twin sisters Irene and Lucia, whom I love. These little girls are hilarious. Now, a few things that we see right away in like this early morning scene at home, and it's really subtle. I didn't catch like the implications of it the first time. Obviously, I saw it happen, I watched it, but I didn't like put together what this meant. When Veronica walks down the hallway, the crucifix has already started falling off the wall. She has not started her non-church ordained extracurricular activities yet, but the crucifix has already fallen off the
Yeah,
wall.
I didn't notice that until you pointed it out.
Uh-huh. So Jesus is on the floor, but she has not played with anything she was not supposed to play with yet. So that's interesting to me. And I really want to know what that means. What do you think that means?
Well, by the movie, we don't know of anything yet, right?
Mm-mm. No, because this is like first morning. She's gotten up. She's, you know, Antonito has wet the bed. She's taking care of him. She's got the kids making breakfast. She's got, she's just like plain mom. And then the crucifix is on the ground.
I don't know what that would mean. I'm gonna be honest.
I
I didn't even think about that.
I don't know. I don't know. So She starts the laundry and she's distracted by her motherly duties by a girl her age across the courtyard who's dancing and singing, right? She starts to smile and mimic the girl's movements, and it's so incredibly sad because this girl across the way is like so free, and in this shot Veronica is so incredibly boxed in, like she
Yeah.
is trapped by her responsibilities. And the second that she starts to like kind of mimic her and like, you know, you think any second now she's going to start to sing into her own fake microphone. The milk on the stove starts to boil over, and there's just no time for her to be a kid. Like it's
Yeah.
over. So the girls introduce the eclipse to the audience at this point. They need film negatives to view the eclipse through. So Veronica sneaks into her mom's room so that she doesn't wake her up. And she gets into a shoebox in the closet to grab a photo of her father and negatives for the girls. And it's the first look we get of Anna, the mom, and she's asleep, but on the nightstand next to her, there's sleeping pills. And Anna has got an eye mask on. So it's like a complete illustration of like she's totally blind. She's totally unaware of what is going on in her own house.
Yeah.
It's also the first of many times that we're going to see Veronica in a mirror. So it's this like illustration of the splitting of her personality. And we're going to see that a lot. A lot. It is a very clear use of an illustration for her. At school, Veronica sits through a lesson on the history of the lore of eclipses. And the one thing we know about movies is that whatever the teacher's talking about is subtext for whatever is going to happen next. So you really need to pay attention. Even whenever the character is not paying attention, you need to pay attention.
Things written on the board,
Right?
movie that they're watching in class, whatever the teacher's saying.
Whatever it is,
Yes.
don't look away. Don't close your ears. Just pay attention.
Makes you want to know, like, what did Charlie Brown's teacher really say?
I know. All
Because
that
that would have
wah,
like
wah,
made a whole lot
wah.
of sense
Right? I feel like
if
it
we
would have
heard
let us,
exactly what she said.
like, would she have told us what Lucy's deal was? Why was she so
Probably
mean?
was, yeah. Probably told him how to kick a football and all that stuff.
Well, so in this scene, the teacher tells us that an eclipse is subjective, right? So she says, it depends on the subject looking at it. What we see here today is in Madrid is not what they see in Barcelona or in Paris. So it's literally Paco Plaza is just straight up saying, hey guys, everyone sees this story differently. But just in case you aren't sure which one you're supposed to see, here's a hint. And then the teacher goes directly into superstitious explanations for eclipses. So he's like, everybody sees it differently, but I'm gonna tell you which way you're supposed to
Yeah,
see it.
this is
Let's
the
talk.
plot
Yeah.
of the movie in like 1 minute.
So she says, in many cultures, eclipses were thought to be a good time for sacrifices, even human sacrifices. And she shows an illustration of three Mayan soldiers like cutting out the organs of a man who is very much still alive. And he's laying on this altar screaming. And this image is just so striking because his scream 100% matches Veronica's scream. Like his face is Veronica's face.
Her yawning face.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And her screaming face. Like it is Veronica. But I think it's also interesting because the Mayan soldiers that are standing up, one of them is just like really put off by the man's screams. He's like so annoyed by it. And then the other guy is like um just he's looking at it very scientifically. It's like, oh yes, this is happening. But during the whole discussion, Veronica and her friend Rosa are passing notes, and Veronica's revealing like she has something in her bag. And then she gets caught up by this disturbing image on the projector screen. The class breaks to go see the eclipse, and Veronica stands up, and the projector shines an image of an eclipse directly over Veronica's
Yeah.
chest. And it's definitely an omen of things to come.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything quietly here. Like, this is hello. Here's the eclipse. We're going for Veronica. So the class disperses. Veronica and Rosa sneak away, but Rosa springs a surprise on Veronica. She's bringing Diana, the girl who got held back, the girl whose boyfriend died in a motorcycle accident, because everyone knows the Ouija board works better in odd numbers. All the other girls are on the roof with the nuns preparing to look at the eclipse through film strips, negatives, and Veronica, Rosa, and Diana are sneaking down into this creepy ass basement to play with the Ouija board. Veronica has brought a photo of her father because she wants to contact him, right? Meanwhile, her sister Lucia is watching the eclipse through the exact negative of the photo of her father on the roof.
Hmm.
Because, in case y'all have forgotten, there's an eclipse happening outside. So they start the ritual in the basement, surrounded by like old desks and teaching aids and religious relics, which has got to play a part into something like that. Just cannot be, that's not a coincidence. And they place their fingertips on top of an upside down glass that sits on the board that Veronica brought. And I saw that there's a game that was played in Spain called the Glass Game, and it basically was like their form of the Ouija board until the Ouija board actually entered into Spain. But I couldn't find a whole lot about it, primarily because it's very hard to access Spanish internet things from America whenever you're stuck trying to,
Yeah.
you know, cross. It's like trying to go to another dimension. It was very difficult. Um, but the glass game is a thing, and that's why the glass was like such a big part for the Ouija board. um, but so they sit down, they're doing this, and Rosa is leading the whole thing because Rosa has done this before, she says. And so she tells them to close her eyes and she asks, "Is anyone with us?" We go back to the roof, like we keep bouncing back and forth. We see the eclipse and the glass moves, and she says, Rosa says, "Do you want to talk to one of us?" And the glass jerks to Veronica. And at this point, the three girls are freaking their shit out
Hmm.
as they should. Back on the roof, the kids are starting, they're like,
The eclipse is starting.
yeah, they're staring down the eclipse.
Yeah.
And we see the connection of the sun with the negative of their dad as we go back to the same photo of their dad in the basement. And Rosa's like, "Do you want to talk to Veronica? Are you her father?" But it doesn't say yes. It spells the word spy. Now, first of all, I think the original film does not spell spy. I think it spells something else, and I would really like to know what it is, but I do not know. Second of all, listen, ladies, if I say, "Are you Veronica's father? Do you want to talk to her?" And it spells the word spy. That is not talking. That is stalking. That's peeping tomming. That's not a good time. I don't want to like have a conversation with someone who wants to spy on me.
Yeah. No.
Like, where did they think that was a great thing? So that should have been the first hint that like this is not her dad. And then the glass like moves to the picture of the sun, and it heats up and it burns Rosa and Diana's fingers, but not Veronica's. And Rosa and Diana are like, "What the fuck?" But Veronica still has her eyes closed and she is like locked in, and we're at like total eclipse outside, and we see the blind nun, and she has a look on her face like her sixth sense knows something's up. And in the
And she's on the
basement,
roof.
but she's on the roof,
Yeah.
so she's completely separate. So in the basement the glass shatters, and it cuts Veronica's one finger. Veronica's eyes shoot open, and then her one finger bleeds the amount of, like, what I imagine lives inside a small rat. There's, like, so much blood coming out of this one finger, completely covers the sun. The candle just because there's lit candles everywhere, the candle just, like,
Knocks over, doesn't it?
knocks over, but not from anyone, it just knocks over. So I think that the demon knocked it over and, uh, catches the manual on fire. Rosa stands up and starts, like, stomping it out, and then,
And then it's dark.
it's dark,
Yeah.
and you remember that, like, the teacher said earlier, "Darkness will reign over the light," and you're like, "Oh, here's the darkness," and then Rosa and Diana finally find, like, a flashlight, and they scare the shit out of each other and me. Like, I jumped so hard whenever they finally, like, turned on a flashlight, and they look, and the board is broken in half, and they're like, "Where's Veronica?"
Yeah.
And she's laying down in this, like, supine position, and Rosa screams for Diana to go get help, and Diana says something bitchy about how they're all gonna get in trouble now. She goes to get help, and Veronica is in this, like, weird ass trance, muttering something to herself, and Diana leans down or Rosa leans down to, like, hear the whisper, and then she hears it, and we don't know what it is, but she backs away
Yeah.
afraid, and then
And I don't know.
Veronica
And I don't know what I'm plugging my ears. I don't want to know what it is. Because that's the part of the scary story. Something's gonna go down.
Well, we don't find out. So you could have had your fingers out of your ears because no one knows except for Rosa what Veronica says. And then Veronica sits up like she's a springboard that has been released. She comes up at like a 90-degree angle and her mouth does that weird wide open scream again. Her body is totally erect. And then all of the lights overhead flicker on and the light bulb fades into what we think is the eclipse, but then it turns out to be the nurse's, like, beady little
Flashlight. Yeah.
flashlight. And so we get Veronica in a mirror again. Like, the nurse has her set up, and she's sitting in front of a mirror in the nurse's office, which I think is really interesting because I saw this one thing and I couldn't find it again, which was really frustrating to me, but I saw this one thing about mirrors, and there's like a lore somewhere about if you are in a mirror, but you have your back to a mirror, something about it like taking your soul, like capturing your soul because you don't have the ability to control like your vision or like your not your impression, but like your
Reflection.
yeah, like, you're not controlling your reflection in the mirror, and so, like, it can take your soul from you, and so I think it's interesting that it's, like, behind her, but I could not find that
I'm gonna go to the
again.
bathroom different every time now. Because there's a mirror right there.
Well, like, mirrors are portals, and,
Yeah.
like, they're not supposed to face each other, and we have so many mirrors in our place that face each other, and I think about that all the time. I'm like, "Ugh, we gotta stop that." I'm gonna start putting sheets over all of our mirrors. So the other thing in myth, mirrors reflect like the soul and the true nature, but they also trap the soul, like we talked about. They hold significance in different cultures and lores and art forms, but they represent the duality of a person's identity. They represent like a fractured reality or psychosis, which is definitely a question of this movie. The big question of this movie is Veronica really possessed or is Veronica suffering some sort of like
Mental.
mental
Mental.
breakdown?
Yeah.
False identities, internal struggles of good and evil. Um, and in the diner, we see the duality of Anna, the mom. We see her reflected, and she's like playing this dual role of like this adult woman worker, but then also, she's a working woman, but she's also a mother when the children show up. in Anna's closet mirror, we see Veronica and Anna in the mirror together. And I think that one's really interesting because it's like this shared caretaker child role, and it kind of illustrates like the parentification of Veronica and Anna's dependence on Veronica to be like the mom as much as she considers herself to be the mom. And so they have a very complicated, tortured relationship that way. And then in the nurse's office, we see this like she's obviously in need of a parent. The girl was just having some kind of episode in the basement. And then the nurse says that they tried to reach her mom and there was no luck. And then the conversation turns really weird. She's 15. We find out that she's in this like perpetual stunted development. And the nurse gets like really weirdly judgy about it. And she's like, "You're 15 and you've not had your period." The girl's got braces on. She's she's got glow in the dark stickers on her ceiling. She's got she's got stuffed animals on her bed that she has guard things, but she has to be mom to her brother and sisters,
Yeah.
So the nurse is useless and is like, "Go home and eat some red meat." Veronica goes home, but not before picking up her sisters and doing like a little vow with them to not tell mom about cutting her finger. And at one point, Irene points out that Sister Death, the blind nun, is staring at Veronica from up above.
Yeah.
And they go to the bar, and Veronica tries to talk to her mom. She's like trying so hard, and Anna's just like, "I don't have time for this. Go get your brother, go home." So that's
Yeah.
what Veronica does. They get home, and Veronica tries to put the board up on her wardrobe. And she closes the door, and it falls off. She goes in, she puts it back up, it falls off. She goes back in, she's like, "Okay, I'm just gonna put it under the bed then. If it wants to be on the floor, I'll let it be on the floor." And this
Yeah.
is when she asks the stuffed animal to guard it because she is a child
Yes.
raising children.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things she does where I'm just like, "You are a child." And then we have one of the most disturbing scenes of the whole damn movie. And it's the one where she goes to eat.
Yeah.
And
That is.
oh, I don't know what to think of it. Like, they're sitting at the table and they're eating meatballs, just meatballs, no sides, no anything. And it's not the macaroni. It's not the leftover macaroni that mom sent home with them. It's meatballs. But I mean, she is eating red meat like the nurse told her to. So, but she goes to take a bite of her meatball and freezes with the fork midair and she starts shaking. Irene's in the pantry getting shelf-stable milk, and Antonito's making, like, the cutest face because he thinks that Veronica is, like
Like playing.
yeah.
Yes.
Um, and Lucia's like, um, "Irene, Veronica's all frozen up." And Veronica slowly, like, gets the
Well, they
meatball.
haven't paid attention yet, except for
Well,
Anunito.
at this point, Lucia's, like, noticed it,
Okay.
and she's freaking she's, like, staring at her like, "What is going on?" And so she calls for Irene and says, "Veronica's all frozen up." She calls on the little walkie-talkie, and Veronica gets the meatball in her mouth, and her mouth just, like, turns instantly into a blender, and this, like, blended meatball just starts coming down the front of her, like, frozen face with her teeth stuck and the meatballs coming out. Irene comes out of the pantry area, sees what's happening, drops the milk, and as soon as the milk that has spilled onto the floor runs into Veronica's foot,
It snaps
the
her out.
the spell's broken and she spits out the meatball, she wipes her face, she jumps up to go get cleaned up. Demon. like like she goes in the bathroom, she takes her shirt off. And there's, like, a handprint on her shoulder, and it's, mysteriously the same size as her own handprint. I just wanna point that out. I don't know if you noticed that, but it's also the first manifestation that we see of an injury on Veronica's body. Like, she starts having these injuries come up, but I don't know, meatball, demon, milk. What do you think?
I don't know. The little boy loved it. I mean, he was smiling the whole time. I mean, it could have been a seizure.
It could have been, yes. That is a thought. And so
But
I
it's like I still don't understand the significance of when the milk or liquid. That wasn't my phone.
that wasn't your phone, it was mine.
I don't understand the significance of liquid hitting her that made her snap out of it. Did you ever look into that?
I I did some research. Are you
So more
surprised?
learning
So obviously, milk's the first nourishment that we receive
as
as
babies. Yeah.
infants, right? So we have this like motherhood theme coming through again, but also in lore and myth, milk is like a sign of purity and abundance. So you've also got like in biblical history, the land of Canaan and the land flowing with milk and honey. So it's like that abundance thing. The one thing I didn't know is that milk was often associated with a pure sacrifice and with
Oh yeah.
lunar forces. So we've got like the moon again coming up. Um and then the
Cause right.
moon,
Cause right. Well, I mean, so like biblically, like, do they use like wine and milk in both sacrifices type things?
I don't know. That one I don't know.
Okay.
Something to look into.
You go ahead with the moon. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so the moon in astrology, the moon is the mother. So we've got the moon again, the mother in astrology, and also linked to women's menses. Like the moon, the moon
Yeah.
goes through a cycle of 28 days, so does women's cycles, which Veronica has not had. And then in ancient cultures, sacrifices of milk were understood as rituals of purification, like mother's milk offering maternal protection. I don't know, but whatever it is, it did the trick. And after the cleanup, the phone rings. So Lucia answers it, and it's Rosa, and Rosa's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not coming over because I need to go run errands with my mom." So Veronica calls her back, and Rosa's mom answers and is like, "Isn't she and aren't she and Diana coming to meet you?"
Yeah.
And Veronica's like, "That kid cannot catch a
She's
break."
dejected.
Yes. So another one of my favorite camera shots happens here. We see the outside of the building, and there's a shadow coming over it because the sun is setting it, and it is a clear depiction of the eclipse. It is totally reenacting the eclipse, the moon coming in over the sun. We see the shadow coming in over the building.
Yeah. See, I didn't even think about that. See, this is why you're leading this thing.
So all I could think whenever I saw it was like something wicked this way comes.
I was
Like
just like thinking, that's a transition. That's all it is.
so Veronica's giving Antonito a bath, right?
Yeah.
And he's singing the most obnoxious commercial jingle ever. Centella, which we've got the words for. I'm not going to sing it, but I am going to tell you what it says. It says, Centella gives me time to enjoy. Centella gives me a shiny floor. Oh, time for myself. Oh, time for life. Centella gives me time to enjoy. That's the words for Centella. And I think the reason why Centella is the song is because Veronica doesn't have time for herself. I think that's why that's the jingle. I think that's why they chose that one because it's like all about there's this magical thing that like miraculously gives you time to enjoy, takes away all of the like hardship, and there's time to enjoy. There's time for yourself. There's time for life. Like Veronica could totally use a magic tool to have time for herself,
Yeah.
time to enjoy life. So Veronica hears this loud noise in her room. She thinks it's the twins, but it is not the twins.
No.
So she goes in to try and figure out like what the hell it is. She leaves Antonito in the tub. I would like to point out that the water is off.
Yeah. The water is off.
okay? And there is not a sign of humidity in this room.
No.
That bathroom is like
As far as we know,
clear
nothing was
air.
touched on her way out of the tub
Yes.
or out of the bathroom.
So she goes in her room. All of the electronics go haywire. The door slams shut. She can't get back out. Antonito's screaming for her. And she finally gets the door open, runs in. The hot water is on. The room is extremely steamy. She has to like cut through steam like a knife through butter to get to Antonito. And then she gets him, she pulls him out, and that poor baby's body is like he's got like
He looks sunburned.
yeah, I mean like all the way up to where the water was on his belly. She dries him off. Ugh, I just hate it so much. So she's getting him ready for bed. It's nighttime. She's apologizing to him for making the water too hot.
Yeah.
And he says, "It's okay. It wasn't Veronica." And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "You didn't put the water on hot." And she's like, "What did you say?" And then he falls asleep because he's so cute. He just is. He's the cutest thing in the world.
Yeah.
So now Veronica's the only one awake. And she's doing the dishes because she's the only one who does anything in this house. And there's a glass sitting on the counter drying, and she goes to put her finger on top of it like she did during the Ouija ceremony. And when she puts her finger on it, there's like a bright flash of red light. And Centella commercial flashes on the TV that was just off, like super loud. No one needs Centella that loud. And she goes into the living room, freaked out to shut it off. And as she's walking,
This is
the
probably my favorite scene.
it's a good one, but it's hard to explain. I was thinking about this. Their apartment is so confusing
Her
to
apartment's kind of
explain.
fun
It's really fun, but I don't think that in America we have anything to explain
the layout. Maybe like a penthouse.
but it's
That's
not
like a building that has like a
we
little U thing in it.
yeah, I mean like everything in the US is like a box and it's just a
Yeah.
box, but theirs is like it wraps around itself. And so when you're looking through windows, there's like a courtyard in the middle of the
Yeah.
building.
Like small. Yeah.
Yeah, so like
You can see the
you're
girl's room from a different
yeah,
room.
in Veronica's room, you're looking into she's got a window that looks through the laundry room, and you can see across the laundry room through another window and see the girl on the other side. You can see her apartment, but on the other side of her room, you can also see through another window that sees the girls' room. There's also a window that looks through the bathroom, and there's all these windows, which lets a lot of light in. Like it's
Yeah.
really great. I love it. But when you're watching the movie and you're not from Europe, you're looking at it like, where are they? Like, I don't understand where we are in this house. Um,
Apartment, really.
yeah. So in this shot, she's walking through the kitchen towards the living room. The hallway runs alongside the kitchen dining room, and the living room sits at the end. And the camera is sitting in the living room, watching her walk towards it. But it's a wide shot, so you see down the hallway as
Part of
well.
the way. Yeah.
And what you see is that moving in tandem with Veronica is a dark, viney,
Well, it's just dark figure right now. You
it's
can't really see the texture of him, can you?
a little bit you can, but it's like alien it's like our Area 51 shaped
Is it the same
alien.
one from Signs that he saw in the video?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is the guy from Signs. He's gotten down off the roof and he is in Veronica's
Well, he was
hallway.
there first.
Yes, because it's 1991.
Yeah.
So he went from Veronica's hallway to
To
their
Mel
roof
Gibson.
and to the doc to the veterinarians. Eventually, he gets his
Yeah.
fingers cut off. I hope you all have seen Signs. We're ruining some stuff. Um, but so he's walking in tandem alongside
Yeah, I
Veronica.
didn't think about that they were walking in tandem. Okay.
And when she gets to the end of that walk where that doorway is, she crosses to the TV and he's no longer standing. And that when she crosses, he's not there. She goes to the TV, the camera is behind her, and
I'm
she,
gonna be honest though, I think
yes.
I see him walk
You think you
from the
see him?
door. Yes,
Oh,
from the
now I want to
door.
go back and watch it
Like
again.
it's just like a glimpse because you're not paying attention to that.
Oh,
If you saw him in the hallway,
uh
that's
huh.
one thing. I was listening to a podcast earlier and they didn't mention him in the hallway at all. They just mentioned what you're about to say.
Right.
But I think I saw him go from the hallway behind, like just a glimpse of the corner of the screen, of the actual, not the TV screen but behind her.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I saw him or some whatever it was walk there
Oh,
into the
it's a great
transition. That
scene.
yeah,
She kneels down in front of the TV. She turns off the TV, and then the girls, I mentioned it briefly, but the girls have these walkie-talkies that they're
mm,
constantly talking to each other through, which is just the funniest thing. And she hears it make a noise. She leans down to pick it up, and when she leans down, the camera doesn't go with her, it stays in place. And you see this demonic alien figure's body in the TV screen.
mm-hmm.
He is
The
behind
reflection.
her.
Yeah,
Mhm. And she comes back up, but she's not looking at the
screen.
screen when
Yeah,
she's doing that. And when she comes back up, she's covering, where he would be. So she wouldn't see him anyway because
yeah,
now she's covering that space where his reflection
yeah.
is.
Correct.
And so she stands up and goes back through the living room. And when she does, he's still standing there. She's completely oblivious. And he just watches her
Yeah,
walk and leave the room. And it is,
I was expecting him to not be there, and
I
then when he was
was
still there, I was like,
too.
that's even creepier.
It was, it's, it is unnerving. So, but speaking of Signs, that whole time, all I can think of is that scene in Signs when, um, his brother is in the coat closet watching the scene of the,
Having the
birthday
birthday.
party
Yeah.
in Mexico, and the little boy is yelling about the alien, and he's like, "Behind! Behind!"
Yeah.
And all I could think was, "Behind, Veronica!" Um, yeah, that's all I could think. So, yeah, uh, it's a good time. It's one of the creepiest scenes. It rivals the meatball, I gotta say.
That's a
It's
pretty good scene.
it's a pretty good scene. So now Veronica has the first of her very disturbing nightmares. And it's her first introduction to our creepy alien guy. But it is in her dream. So it's one of those like I'm waking up in a dream and I don't realize that I'm waking up in a dream.
Yeah.
I think that I've just woken up. So she wakes up. Um, she she is in her bed, but you see her in a mirror because the door to her wardrobe has opened, and you see her laying in her bed, but you also see her laying in her bed in the mirror. And she hears something, she gets up, she goes over, and all three of her siblings are hiding in the wardrobe.
Oh, I
Irene's
think it was just the
teeth.
girls.
No, he
Really?
Antonito's sitting
Okay.
next to the girls, yeah. And Irene's teeth are chattering. And Veronica's like, WTF, why are you in my bed? And or why are you in my bedroom? And she hears her name behind her, and then the wardrobe door slams shut, and she turns and looks, and her dead father is standing in the corner of her room naked. and all of his birthday suit glory, just letting it all hang out in the corner. And he just keeps saying her name over and over and over again. And he's walking towards her, saying her name, and she's backing away from him, like, Papa. And the audience is like, why the hell is he naked, Veronica? And I don't know. Like, maybe she saw him in the morgue
I don't know.
naked.
I'm gonna be honest. When
Why?
I saw that part, I did not know that was her dad. I thought that was some other creepy guy.
I have so many questions. There's speculation online that him being naked is indicative of previous sexual assault, and that also ties in some way to the meatball and some mattress stuff and that we're going to get into, but like, I don't know. I really wonder if it's literally just she saw his body when it was getting ready for burial or something.
Maybe.
Because why would you reach out to creepy pervy daddy after he's dead? Why would you be like, my father's dead. He sexually molested me. This is who I
But
want
I
to
still want
talk
to
to
talk to
through
him.
the Ouija board. You know? These are my
Yeah, I didn't think about
questions,
that. I wouldn't think that she would want to talk to him.
right? Well, she falls back on the bed. And when she does, all of these black, viney arms burst out through her mattress and hold her down. And this is where you start going, oh, maybe this is happening in her mind. And she is crazy because they strap her down on her bed like you would see somebody being strapped down in,
Like psychiatric ward.
yes, which also makes me think about the girls in the board in Spain.
Oh, yeah. That is a good
Mhm.
that's a good picture.
So she's strapped down, and then Papa turns into the black viney guy of our demonic alien nightmares, and his arm gets really long and starts going towards her throat, and he mimics one of the pictures from the teacher's eclipse um, lessons, the one before the Mayan picture, and his arm starts stretching towards her mouth,
Yeah.
um, and it starts going like it's going to go down her throat, like this one picture did, and then she wakes up, gasping from her nightmare, and now it is Friday the 13th. It's 8:28. And if that was not scary enough, Antonito scares the shit out of her. He is standing
Because he's just
next to the
standing there.
bed and he says, it just leaked out. And in some ways, it's like, is Antonito, like, is that line supposed to be like a secret of something? Like the demon, like just a little bit of the demon leaked into the real world here. But also, he wet the bed.
Yeah.
It just leaked out.
I
Poor
didn't think of the
Antonito.
demon at all when he said that.
Poor Antonito. But Veronica realizes the alarm clock did not go off. There was no rooster.
Yeah. Because they were late.
Rooster. And they are late. And she gets them up and they're running to school. And the girls are like, why is it always Veronica's fault? Why does she always make us late? Because she's a child parenting.
Yeah.
Hello. So, and then they get there, and the teacher that lets them in says something about made it by the skin of your teeth.
Uh-huh.
And I
You researched that too.
I didn't
Oh.
because I was like, like, this is so long already. But that is a very unnerving phrase, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Made it by the skin of your teeth.
Because your teeth don't have skin.
I don't like it. I don't like it. So now we're in class and we're studying Becker's Legends. And again, if you weren't paying attention, what were you even doing? Subtext, subtext, subtext. So this is another foreshadow what our nun teacher is teaching us. Becker's real name is Gustavo Adolfo Claudio Dominguez Bastida, and he was a poet and a an artist, and he wrote. He was amazing. He is one of Spain's greatest like heroes of art. 19th century, he wrote 14 legends that are kind of bound together, and they're regarded as some of the most famous Spanish literature of all time. He's Spain's Shakespeare, essentially. These stories that are being taught, she's specifically teaching the Mount of Souls and the Kiss, which are two of the legends. In both, and this is really common in his legends, the protagonist has been warned about a danger and a supernatural law that they should not desecrate. The character does exactly what he's been warned against, and then he
Hmm.
suffers death as a punishment. So the teacher says no one escapes the consequences of passing the limit that divides reality from fantasy. So, Veronica must die. But Veronica doesn't know because she's too busy worrying about the fact that Rosa is passing Diana notes
Yeah.
instead of her. So she's frustrated, so she asks to go to the bathroom, and instead she goes straight past the bathroom and goes to the basement to hang out with her new bestie, Sister Death, and get the Ouija manual that they left there the last time they were there. And Sister Death is like, listen, you FAO, no, FAFO, which I was really proud of myself for being able to put that in here. I feel like I'm with the times. Like I'm one of the cool kids.
I'll look that up later.
You don't know what it
I
is?
don't. I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, she tells her it's not who you wanted to talk to, it's who you did talk to. And she's like, you got to protect your siblings. You aren't alone. Someone answered your call, and now they walk with you. Congratulations. The bell rings. Veronica takes off. Outside, she sees Rosa, and Rosa's with Diana, and she calls her over and asks Rosa, are you seeing things? And Rosa's like,
Uh,
what are you talking about? It's a baby's game. I'm like, Rosa, come on, dude. You were the one that was like, oh, yeah, I've totally done this before. Now all of a sudden, it's a baby's game. So Diana wants to go to the mall and is like, are you coming to our kick ass party? Oh, you're probably babysitting,
at
huh?
Rosa's place,
Ugh,
right?
yes, it's
Who was
at
actually her
Rosa's.
friend.
And then she's like, Rosa, let's go. And I just want to like throat punch her. Oh, and Rosa's like, I don't know, try to make it. And she leaves like the traitor that she is. And so Veronica walks home alone on the bridge. And all I can think is, Veronica, where are the kids? She's all by herself. Where are the children? But now she's home and the kids are with her. So they got home somehow. But Antonito's trying to figure out how to play Simon, which, makes many uh entrances in this movie. And the twins are doing their homework and Lucia's trying to cheat, which is really like adorable. Veronica's trying to figure out what the burned manual says about closing out the Ouija ritual. Because she realizes they didn't close it out. But she can't read the closing ritual because the demon burned it all up with the candles. So the kids are being loud and she's about to like completely mom out. Um, but she remembers that her bestie, Sister Death, was like, protect the babies. So she goes to her room and she starts going through a ton of these like occult rags And we realize, oh, wait, she is totally obsessed. This is not the only one she has. She has a ton of them. And she finds one that has like a whole bunch of these Viking sigils of protections.
Uh-huh.
And she starts tracing them onto paper in crayon because she is a child, and she hangs them in the kids' room above the beds. And then the neighbor below is at the door complaining because she says the kids are being loud. And she asks to speak with Anna. And Veronica's like, yeah, I'll tell her you called. And the lady's like, all right, yeah, if you see her. Um, by the way, deal with the sludge dripping through your bedroom floor into my house. And
Coming from your
that's,
bedroom.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the first time that we kind of get the hint that like there's some kind of like ecoplasm.
Ectoplasma. Plasm.
I don't know. Slimer has been here. Okay. Slimer's been here. Something has happened. So now it's late. Veronica's doing laundry. She's the only one awake. And across the courtyard, the previously singing girl is now getting homework help from her very healthy and alive father. And Veronica hears something from the girl's room and goes in and is like, why are you guys awake? But the girls are not awake. Um, but before she gets there, she looks in and through the window, she sees the figure of the demon.
Yeah.
And she runs in. Um, Freezes in the doorroom, like cannot move. Something's holding her back. And we see a handprint, like bruises appear on her arm. It's another manifestation of a physical appearance of something on her body. And then we see like the shadow of the demon go from where Veronica's standing, but just the shadow, and it goes along the walls over to Lucia's bunk, gets on Lucia and is like choking her. Veronica finally breaks free and gets on top of Lucia and is now the one choking her.
Yeah.
And Irene is screaming from her top bunk. And Lucia's like, "Why are you choking me?" And Veronica says, "No, no, no, no. I wasn't choking you. I was saving you. There was someone here. You can't see him. Let's all move to the living room. Like we've got to stay safe. Everybody get your mattresses and let's go to the living room." So they all go to the living room to sleep. And they're like watching TV, and there's a scary movie on, very suspenseful music, and they see something like through there's like frosted glass that they can see in the hallway. And there's a figure that fits the shape of the demon. And Veronica's freaking out. The girls are freaking out. Everyone's scared. They get up. Veronica gets like a wine. What am I trying to say? Like a
Decanter?
no. I'm going to open the wine and I
Oh.
use a
Wine opener? Wine bottle opener?
yes. She uses a bottle opener, a corkscrew.
Oh yeah.
Uh like she uses that. She gets it in the shape of a cross. The girls are, the kids are hiding behind her. The door opens and the demonic figure turns into their mother. And Anna is like super pissed that they're all in the living room.
They're
She's
all
like,
awake.
you know, what is happening? Veronica is like visibly crying. And Anna's just pissed that Veronica let things get out of control. And so she gets everybody in bed and she's like, why can't you be an adult? You're making my life a living hell. And Veronica's like, she literally looks like she's going to commit patricide in that moment. Like she looks like she could kill Anna in that moment. And Anna's just like, "I'm really tired, grow up." There are visible bruises on this child's body. Her arms have these gigantic marks on them, and Anna is completely oblivious to it. And so at this point, I thought, like, maybe they're not there. Like, if Anna's not seeing these marks, maybe they're not really there.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Because they're so dark. They're so visible. And I just thought there's no way that a mom would just like not see that. So they go to bed, and it's morning, and the twins come jumping in screaming that they're hungry. And Veronica's like, "Please just let me sleep in." And Irene's like, "I got an idea. Let's play a game. Give me your arm." And then Lucia reaches down and takes a huge ass bite out of Veronica's right hand. And Irene takes a bite out of her left arm, and the girls are laughing, and they're like cannibalistic zombies, and there's like blood, and Anna starts to come in. Antonito comes in, and he climbs up, and he's like jumping on the bed. And then he starts choking Veronica, and Veronica's screaming for her mother, and Anna walks over her and is like, "I need you to grow up." And all the while, the music from the scary movie is playing from the night before. And Anna puts her hand over Veronica's head, palm down, and starts moving her open palm over her body. And when she gets to her groin, she like clenches her hand into a fist. And when she does that, s- just a ton of blood appears. And the movie music gets really loud. The kids are holding her down on the bed now, exactly like the demons were holding her down in the first dream. She is held down like she is in a hospital bed again.
Uh-huh.
But in the first dream, her dad was the demon, and he was shoving his hand down her throat, taking her voice. And now it's a second nightmare, and it's her mom that's the bad guy, if you will, and she's causing her to bleed and saying, "Grow up," and forcing her into womanhood. So
Uh-huh.
it's like, I just think it's really interesting that, like, in the first dream, her voice was taken from her, and in the second dream, she was forced into womanhood. But in both of them, she was stripped of choice. In both of them, she was forced down. She she wasn't given, it was like, regardless of choice, this is your lot in life. And for the second one, it's like, "Oh, great. Now you're a woman. You get to be a mother and have kids, even though you're already raising three that
Yeah.
and yourself." You know what I mean? So she wakes up, and it's Saturday, June 14th. It's 10:40 a.m. And she gets out of bed, and it's so creepy how she gets out of bed, because like she does, it's like a she looks like a vampire rising out of a coffin. Like, it just all one motion. There's
Yeah.
no bending of a body, there's no anything. And her period has started. So now she's like scrubbing the mattress. But while she's scrubbing the mattress, she smells something rancid. And then she finds underneath her mattress the source of the like sludge that the neighbor complained
Yeah.
about. And so she goes out, she like loses her shit on the girls for not having breakfast ready. She loses it then on Antonito because he's got books down that but he can't read. But he says, "No, it's okay cuz dad came." and read it to me. And he's going to come again tonight and he's going to take me to where he lives. And Veronica's like, nope. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's creepy when the little boy sees
yeah.
something.
She says, if he comes back, plug your ears and call me really loud. And I think the Antonito of it all is really confounding to me because, like, what is Antonito seeing? The water is on, and he's like, that you didn't turn the water on. And he's saying that his dad came and read to him. Like,
Yeah.
what is Antonito seeing? I need to know what Antonito is. What is happening with Antonito? I don't know. I don't know. It's really weird. So she checks all the kids' mattresses. They all have sludge on them. When she leaves Antonito's room, the hand so the sludge is in, like, the shape of a figure,
Yeah.
which is, like, creepy as the hand of the figure opens up when Veronica walks away, which is really weird, and I played it back, like, 18 times because I was trying to figure out, did I imagine that? Did I see something weird? It didn't do it on any of the other mattresses, but it did it in Antonito's room.
Yeah.
Um, and so she freaks out. She takes the kids to Anna at work, and she's like, "Yeah, gotta go do homework with Rosa. I need you to watch the kids." Which,
She hasn't talked to Rose in a while.
right, but, like, I think it says something when the 15-year-old has to tell the mom, "I need you to watch your kids."
Yeah.
That's like, you know how, like, we never had to do this. I never had to do this because you were a good father. But, like, when men say, "I'll babysit the kids so that you can go do something to their wives," and it's like, it's not babysitting, you're the parent.
Yeah. Correct.
This was totally that moment. "Can you watch the kids? I need to go do homework." Like, she shouldn't have to be asked to watch the kids, she is the parent, but that was the moment I was having while I was watching it. So, she does not go to Rosa. She goes again to Bestie Sister Death
Yeah. On a weekend.
in the basement. What
This
is
is
this
Saturday.
woman, like,
School's not
just
in session.
why is she in the basement all the time?
Sister Death?
Yes, that is a big ass school.
Well, I mean, Sister Death lives there, so she doesn't care.
There's nowhere else for her to go?
But I think, I mean, if Sister Death kind of knows what's going on, she probably knows, like, this is where she's going to be.
So you think
Which
she knew to be there?
I think she did.
Well, she's talking to her bestie and she's like, "Look, nothing's working. Amulets and crosses don't work." Oh, because I didn't mention when, or maybe I did, but when she drew those amulets, the demon just, like, set the
Burned him
papers
up.
on
That's
fire.
right.
And so Sister Death is like, "Crosses, God has nothing to do with this. Leave him out of it." And I was like, uh, okay, well, then who do you lean on in that? Like, so she tells Veronica they have to go out the same way they came in through the door Veronica opened. And this part, I wrote it down because I was like, "What?" So Sister Death says, "Bid them farewell, then you have to destroy it." And Veronica says, "The Ouija board." And Sister Death says, "No, the door." She's, like, really mad. She's, like, screaming. And she goes, "You have to do right what you did wrong. The answer is in the books." And so she tells Veronica, "You gotta bid them farewell, and then whenever it's done, you've gotta destroy the door." And Veronica goes, she checks the books, but of course, the demon burned it during the ceremony. So she has to go to the newsstand where she bought the book to begin with. And there's a big ass sticker on it that says "as seen on TV." And so I think that's why we have such a focus on that sticker in that moment, is because Paco Plaza is trying to remind us that, like, this was such a moment in time for them. The media was really driving a lot of this, and it was really driving it for Veronica. It was all over their media at the time, and it plays a huge part in Estefania's story later too. Um, so Veronica sits down on a swing set because she's a child, and she needs to read her super duper dangerous Ouija board manual. And she figures out that if you don't say goodbye, whatever you talk to stays with you. So she's got to try again. So she goes to Rosa's party to tell her and Diana they've got to do this, like, close it out. And she is looking rough. Like, everything that has happened to her has happened to her body. She is on the brink, and she gets in a fight with some boys at the party, and after slapping one of them, they, like, throw her out. So she's standing outside the door like a vampire who's, like, had its invite revoked to
Yeah.
the house. Like, she can't go back in, and she's screaming for Rosa. Rosa comes to the door and is like, "You don't remember what you whispered to me, do you?" And this is where we finally find out what happened in that basement. And Veronica's like, "No, I don't. I don't know." And Rosa says, "You told me you were going to die today." Technically, she's wrong. She's going to die at, like, 2 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, but okay. Um, but she's the first person to, like, actually pay attention to the state Veronica's in, and she sees the bites on Veronica's hand from Veronica's dream, and she calls it out, and she asks her about it. But what I think is really interesting is that she says, "Did you do that to yourself?" She didn't ask her, "What happened to you? Did someone do that to you?" She said, "Did you do that to yourself?"
Yeah.
And so that made me go, like, does Veronica, like, have a history of hurting herself? Or, like, is there what would make her ask her if she's hurt herself instead of asking her, like, "Who's hurt you?" You know what I mean? I thought that was really weird.
Yeah.
Rosa turns around and walks off, and then Veronica screams for her 3 times.
There's a number three.
There's that number 3. And she is denied 3 times, like Peter. And, and then we and then we experience this, like, weird AF time lapse where Veronica's walking home and she passes herself on the street.
Yes, this camera work is really fun.
It really is, but I don't understand, like.
Because at some point, like you could tell they filmed it in reverse
Mhm.
because the way her hair's flowing and the way she turns.
Like, she when it's just the first of her, she's walking what we think is forward, but everything around her is moving backwards.
Yeah.
And then she passes herself, and that version of herself seems to be walking like they're.
Walking correct.
Yes. And then they both stop, and their hair's blowing, and when she turns to look, because of how her hair is blowing, you, like, can't see the face of the other one whenever it turns to look at her, and then they, like, both walk away from each other. But there's, like, this duality again of Veronica, but the whole world is just breaking around her. I mean,
Yeah.
her mental state is definitely broken. There has been a shattering at this point for sure, but it's just very weird. As she goes to get the kids home from the bar, she walks in and she's like, "Mama, can you please come home?" She's like, "It doesn't come when you're there." And Anna just like kind of rolls her eyes and is like, "Ugh, here we go again." And she's like, "Can't you just take the kids home? They can't stay here forever." I'm like, "Come on, lady." She's just constantly giving her kids her leftovers, like figuratively, literally. So Veronica takes the kids home and gets the Ouija board from her bag, and she is like, "Okay, we're
She
gonna do
gets her
this.
sisters to do it with her.
The kids are gonna do this.
Yeah.
Like, I have no choice." So you see her, she's like taking the two halves of this broken Ouija board. She goes to put them together, and when she does it, you see the girl across the way getting sweet with the boy, and she like puts the two pieces together. And as she does so, the girl across the courtyard is like in sunlight. But when Veronica does that, it closes out that image of the girl. It also puts Veronica in shadow. Like, we're getting, this is the end. It's already raining outside. The rain has already started. So we know that we're getting to a close. And Veronica tells the kids, "We're going to play a game," which is also what Irene said to her before they became cannibalistic. So that can't be good. So she tells the girls, "Get all the candles and bring them in here." And then she she gives Antonito probably like the most complicated job out of everybody. I'm like, you just gave the 4-year-old the hardest job, the most complicated job. You gave it to the 4-year-old. She gives him the book with the Viking protection
Oh
sigils
yeah.
and a box of crayons and says, "Go draw these in the hallway all over the walls." And
He does well,
uh,
but then he turns to other pages
uh-huh.
and starts drawing those ones,
And those
unknowingly what those
are
are.
symbols of invocation.
Yeah.
Oh, Veronica. So the only source of protection you have, you entrusted to a preschooler who can't read.
Yeah.
I'm like, surely nothing will go wrong. Surely. It's 11:45 p.m. We know at the beginning of the film it was 1:35 a.m. So we're in the last few hours of our story. Veronica's taping up the Ouija board. The twins are putting birthday candles in flower pots. Antonito's doing the Lord's work in the hallway. And um, you know, everyone in the audience is wondering why in God's name she gave Antonito this job and Irene and Lucia the job of stacking birthday candles in a pot of dirt. And while Antonito's drawing, the crucifix falls off the wall. So now they're in the living room, the candles are lit. The girls all sit with their fingers on a glass. Antonito has been regulated to his armchair quarterback position, and they close their eyes, and Veronica asks, "Is there anyone there with them?" And to quote 10 Things I Hate About You, the shit hitteth the fanneth. Um, she says, "We're here to say goodbye to you. You need to leave." And the board says, "No." And she says, "Listen, this is, like, this is clearly not what she had in mind. And it's clearly not what the demon had in mind." And she says, "This is not your house." And the doors in the house are like swinging open of their own accord. It has clearly been invoked by Antonito's killer art skills.
Yeah.
And she's like, "We command you to leave." And the glass says no. And Veronica says, "This isn't your house." And the glass says, "Yes." And the demon's like, "Listen, I don't agree with you. Like, it's mine. I was invited in. Um, this is my house now. So this isn't working." So Veronica decides to read how to properly conclude the ceremony because she didn't do that before they started. And I don't understand why she didn't do that before they started.
She's a child.
She's a child. So she reads that they need to sing a mantra or a soft song, but they need a song that they all know. And Antonito to the rescues, like, "Centella."
Because that screams, we're closing the door on you.
Thanks, Ant-Man. So the noises are freaking the girls out. They're not really like singing along. The
No.
rooster is crowing in the bathroom like it has never crowed before. It almost sounds like the rooster is dying. The camera's like spinning around the girls, and um the doors are swinging open, slamming shut. No one person is continuously singing, and one of the twins says that it stinks in the room. There's knocking that's coming in sets of threes, and then the tape comes undone on the board and the board rips apart. The candles blow out, and then the glass rolls off the board, out of the living room, down the hall, and just sits there banging up against Veronica's bedroom door over and over and over again. She follows it, she opens the door, and her mattress that she had like upturned before, the sludge stain has spread, and she goes to touch it, and when she touches it, this giant black viney hand rips out of the mattress and grabs a hold of her, and I can't tell if it's trying to use her to come out of the mattress or if it's trying to pull Veronica into the mattress, but there's a struggle. And then Veronica breaks free and she goes running down the hall and tells the kids he's here. All the lights overhead are busting out. She grabs the phone, and this is where we hear the start of the phone call to the police.
Uh-huh.
And the girls are like wrapped around her waist. And Antonito walks over to like the kitchen area, and he's like walking over and she's yelling for him. And the demon grabs Antonito, pulls him in, slams the door to the laundry room. She drops the phone and runs to try and get him. And she's like convinced he's in the bathroom. Well, I was like, how do you know he's in the bathroom? Like that hallway, that there's like the pantry, there's the laundry room, there's the bathroom. How do you know he's in the bathroom? You can't see him, but she knows he's in the bathroom. So she's trying to get into the bathroom. So she eventually breaks the window to the bathroom, climbs in, falls, and hits her head on the tile, and she's out for a good, like, 6 seconds, and at that point, all I could think about was, like, all the serial killers and all the true crime stories that I know that start with head injuries, you know? Like, you
I
don't
don't know. You're the one
you
that
don't
watched
know.
that stuff.
They always start with a head injury. So she wakes up, and now Antonito is just sitting in front of her on the floor, and she picks him up and she runs into the living room, and the girls are hiding. And you're like, are they hiding from the monster? Or are they hiding from Veronica? Or is Veronica the monster? I don't know. And she's screaming for them. She finds Irene and she's like, where's your sister? And Irene is not answering. She's just staring. And so she slaps her across the face to get an answer from Irene. And a lot of people online have said that they have a theory that Veronica is abusive to the kids, and that this fracture of her psyche is really a realization that she has been abusing her siblings. And they use this slap as like the first proof coming through to her that like she's abusive. I don't I don't know that I would agree with that. I would say that like she was panicked and she was trying to get Irene to
Well,
respond.
because they backtalk her a lot.
They really do. There are so many times
So if you
where
were
you
an
could see her
abused
being
child, that
abusive.
would not be something you do to the abuser
Mhm.
most often.
Because they like the theory is that she was abused and now she abuses. But like I don't see her, there's so many times when she takes care of them. You know what I mean? I don't think it was the right thing to slap her. Like, maybe just shake her a little. Irene, come
Well,
to.
but she was also
Hello.
whole. Yeah, I know. I
You know,
understand. Yeah,
but
but she was in the moment,
if you
right?
think a demon is on the way,
Yeah, we gotta go.
right? and someone's just staring. The choking of Lucia, okay, I could see that, but, like, I also think at that moment she was in, like, a psychosis or possessed. So, even now, I'm not convinced either way, I don't think. The scalding hot water, I don't know. I don't know, because it was off when she left. But is the narrator reliable? So, there you go. I think I'm voting psychosis or possession, not abuse, is where I'm at. Because my biggest question is, where the hell are all of the marks on her body coming from? And the fact that her mom didn't question them makes me wonder if the marks on her body are coming from her mom.
I don't know.
Because
It could
even when
also
she,
be that after the thing that I thought of was maybe after her dad died, she went into a phase of she wanted to be seen and she wasn't being seen, and so she could have done stuff to herself to be
I don't
seen.
know. I just think it's so weird that, like, her mom does not make any mention of them, but Rosa saw them. Because when her mom didn't see them, I thought, maybe they're not there.
Mhm.
But Rosa clearly saw them. So it's not that. But then, is her mom abusing her? When would she abuse her? She's never home. When she is home, she's passed out asleep.
Yeah,
So,
I
but
don't know.
then there's that one scene where they thought the demon was in the hallway that night and the demon morphed into their mom. And so then I was like, are we supposed to take that to understand that the whole time this is actually about parental abuse? Again, Paco Plaza, I need to talk. So, okay, so getting back on track, Lucia comes out from behind a chair, right? And Veronica sees the crazy demon alien thing in
They
the
all see
corner,
it, yeah, in the corner.
screams.
Yeah,
You think the kids saw it too?
I feel like I don't know. It was really fast at that
It was
moment,
really fast
but yeah,
because there was
because
like a
there's a
shot
flash
of
that you saw it.
there was lightning and it lit it up.
Yeah,
And so it was just a second. She rushes the kids out of the apartment. And as she does so, and they run past it, the crucifix falls off the
uh-huh.
wall. The crucifix fell off the wall
So
with
she's carrying.
Antonito. She's carrying Antonito. So we flash then to Anna, who's cleaning tables. And the screaming police cars come by. And I don't know, mother's intuition, she sees the police cars and she's like, oh, shit's going down with my kids. She throws everything down and leaves the drinking football fans in in the place and just
Yeah,
runs out into the rain. Um, so then it goes back, we see the kids running down the stairs. Veronica's carrying Antonito. They get to the very front door, and the twins are like, Veronica, where's Antonito? Veronica turns, and there's this huge mirror, and she's holding a big, fat 4-year-old bag of bear. Like, there's nothing in her arms.
yeah.
It's just nothing. And so she has clearly lost her mind. She leaves the twins locked outside, which is probably best for them. Uh, I don't know. At this point, like, I think it's best for the twins to be alone in the rain in the middle of the night than it is for them to be inside the house. And she runs upstairs looking for Antonito. And this is where we get that shot, the opening shot that I wish we could have seen with the original camera shot, but I'll take it however I can get it. The mom runs past the detective. She goes to the girls. It's raining. It's Sunday. It's June 15th. It's 1:50 a.m. at this point, and Anna's screaming at Irene and Lucia, "Where's Antonito? Where's Barrow? Where's Barrow? Where's Barrow? Where's Barrow?" Now we're inside the apartment, and there's this weird ass painting that has been showing up all throughout the movie, and it's wolves hunting a stag, and it's really been unnerving the whole movie. But now the stag is gone. Like, the stag is just missing from the painting. It's only wolves that we see. But did we mention that
Oh
tonight
no,
Veronica's wearing a picture or wearing a painting not wearing a painting or a picture. She's wearing a t-shirt with just a wolf's face on it.
That
So,
so that part, when she goes back into the apartment, the stag is still there. She stops in front of the painting,
mm,
and when she leaves that painting,
the stag is gone.
the stag is gone.
But she's wearing a wolf. So, like, I think now she is one of the wolves. She is a wolf. Veronica is a wolf.
At that point, I didn't know that she was wearing a wool.
Yeah, it's
I
on
know
her
later
shirt.
she was, but
She runs down the hall and all of the pictures on the walls fall off. And then she goes in the bathroom and Ant-Man is sitting in the bathtub. And he gets pulled down and behind a shower curtain by this big shadowy figure. And she runs towards him, but the figure backhands her and it sends her spinning off and she flies into the medicine cabinet mirror.
yeah,
And
and cracks it.
this is where the mirror totally splinters apart. And finally, we get a physical shattering of the mirror, and Alice is now through the looking glass. And I don't know if you've noticed this, and I have been dying to talk to you about this, and I have been trying so hard not to talk about this. And so I really hope that I haven't said anything. Did you notice that once this happens, the entire apartment is in reverse?
What do you mean? Like it's mirror damage?
Everything is mirror.
Really?
Everything. Everything. It is incredible. Okay, so she hits the
I'll
glass.
have to go back and look at this now.
I know. She hits the glass. She comes back up. The blood on her face has changed places.
Okay.
The part of her hair is on the other side. The bathroom door leading into the room is on the opposite side of the room. She grabs a shard of glass out of the sink. She exits the wrong way out of the room, goes down the hallway into her bedroom. She gets into the bedroom. Her room is completely switched around. The bedroom, her bed is on the wrong side of where it was. Now, the wardrobe was always straight ahead.
Yeah,
So
because that was
it's
centered
still
with the
there.
door.
But all of the pictures are on opposite sides and they're backwards. All of the writing on all of her posters backwards.
Wow, I did not notice
Everything
this at
is
all.
reversed.
Wow.
I love it so much. I have been freaking out waiting to
Huh.
talk to you about
That's
this.
crazy.
It's my favorite. So she's got this glass in her hand while she's
That
walking
makes
down the
sense about
hallway.
the end then.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep. So she's walking down the hallway, she's dripping blood the whole way down, and that is the stream of blood that the cop follows down, right? Um, she gets there, she opens up the wardrobe, Antonito's inside. Our little Ant-Man he's got his hands over his ears. He's not yelling her name like she said, he's
Yeah.
whispering.
It's his form of yell because
It's
he's a very
his
quiet kid.
he's a very quiet kid, but he's just going pero. And since we've seen this movie, everything sounds like pero. And so now it doesn't matter where we are. I'm like, do you hear that? Matthew, do you hear that? It's pero.
Yeah.
But the Veronica that
It's
we
just
see,
rain dripping from the
I
trees
know.
outside our trailer.
The Veronica that we see standing in front of the wardrobe mirror is scary calm and gripping the shard of mirror like it ain't no thing, but the Veronica in the mirror is shaking and crying and
No, no,
freaking the
no.
fuck out.
But before she looks in the mirror, she's like, "You need to come with me."
I
And he's
know.
like, "No."
Yeah, he goes,
And
"Uh-uh."
he's eyes shut and he keeps saying it,
Yep,
and then
because he
she
knows
starts
that
clicking.
is not his Vero.
Yeah.
That is not Vero. So she then starts thinking back through everything that's happened. She goes all the way back to playing with the Ouija board and the glass moving. And she says out loud, "It's me." So here's the question that I think people are answering incorrectly. What is she talking about when she says, "It's me"? What do you think she means by "it's me"?
I don't know.
Come
I'm
on,
not.
you've got an idea.
I just
She's
think that well, just think that she's the one that's causing the issues. She's the
so
one that's like, choking Lucia or whoever.
mhm.
I forget names. She's the one that's, causing everything to happen. I mean, I don't know how she's making it do, but the only thing I could think of is like split personality or something like that.
Mhm.
Whatever you'd call it medically, but that's what I think that she meant. She said is that this is all me.
So, I think she's saying I think after thinking through everything, I think she's realizing that she's the door.
Yeah,
I think according to Sister Death, the door must be destroyed. There's this flashback and it makes it look like she's the one doing everything, and so you could watch that and say it's her revelation that she's been doing all the bad shit the whole time, but I think what she's actually realizing here is that the demon has been doing it through her the whole time
yeah.
because she's the doorway.
And so she's
She's
got
the
to.
door. He's been using her body, so she has to properly close the door so that he can't finish coming through. I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me and say she's having a moment of clarity where she realizes she's having a mental split and she decides to end it so that she doesn't hurt anybody else. But I think this moment says, no, there was some real supernatural shit going on, but it was using Veronica's body to
Yeah,
do
she's the
it.
conduit. Yeah.
So she takes this mirror shard and she tries to cut her own throat to save Antonito. And she's she's ready.
She's looking
Like,
at the mirror
yes,
at herself.
yes. But the demon bends her over backwards and, ooh, you just kicked my camera real hard. So anybody watching at home just went for a ride. Um,
I did not feel a lot of attention.
um, so the demon bends her over backwards and he shoves his long ass arm down her throat, at which point the cops come in and it's really fast because
Flicks
changes.
back to regular.
The camera looks
That's
at
the thing that I
them.
like noticed was something doesn't seem
She
right, but I did not
Yes,
think about the whole reversal of everything.
she's if you look, we're looking at her and her body's in one direction. The camera
Yeah,
cuts to the cops when it looks back at her.
she's the other way.
She's the other direction.
Yeah,
And everything is back to normal because we are looking through the cops' point of view. We're at that vantage
yeah.
point. The cops don't see the demon. They don't see the
No,
arm going down her throat. They just see this girl bent over backwards
unnaturally.
unnaturally. So unnaturally. But
With her mouth wide open.
her mouth is in that screaming shape that's
Yes.
way too uncomfortable to see because she is the sacrifice of this eclipse. And the detective and the cops behind him are about to wet their pants. And then she falls to the ground. And sweet little Ant Man is still in the wardrobe. And he's like, but if you look at him, he's sitting on the opposite side of the wardrobe of where he was when she was looking at him.
Oh, really?
Yep. And he's still saying, Pharaoh, 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 Pharaoh,
Yeah.
Pharaoh. And the police officer goes over and takes him out. And he's like, where's Pharaoh? And your heart breaks into a million pieces because you know where Pharaoh is. And so they call for medics. And then you see her getting taken out on a stretcher. And Anna is dumbfounded because absent parents usually are. And in the house, the detective picks up a photograph of Veronica and it burns his hand and he drops it. And the photo of Veronica starts to burn out her face underneath the glass. The lights come back on in the house. And over the radio, they tell him that the girl has just died. And the flame in the photo flickers out. And We get a timestamp. It's Sunday, June 15th. It's 2 a.m. and the screen fades out. And then it comes back up. The detective lights a cigarette. He's sitting at a typewriter in the police station and he begins his report. And on screen it reads, June 15th, 1991, Detective Jose Ramon Ramiro went to the home on 8 Gerardo Nunez Street in response to an emergency call. In their statement, family declared that after a seance with a Ouija board, the girl had several strange symptoms and paranormal events took place in the home. Two of the inspecting agents suddenly had to leave the building due to nausea, dizziness, and shaking. They remained 2 weeks off the force. 1 month after the events, Romero requested a transfer. In the inspector's report, Romero speaks of phenomena that is literally inexplicable. The first police report in Spain where an officer certifies having witnessed paranormal activity. And then this is followed by a series of official looking crime scene photos that are definitely not real crime scene photos from the
Yeah.
Gutierrez Lazaro home, but added to the based on a true story feel of
Yeah,
it
they
all.
look legit.
So, Veronica the movie, the best. Love this movie. It is doing so much and doing it so well. Veronica, the story of Estefania, absolute garbage. And we will break all of that down for you in the next episode of Real Twisty.
Yay!
Yay!